Hello, Zion family and friends. It's another day that the Lord has blessed us, and I am so glad to be alive and in His care. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your consistency in following us in these midweek messages as well as on Sunday. We're having a blast and sharing the good news with you, and thank you for all of your encouragement, your inspiration. It just keeps us going. We miss you dearly, and we thank God for those individuals who are tuning in with us. And I understand that we have quite a population now in California. So I want to say to all of our new California friends, God bless you and thank you. Thank you for tuning in with us. Before I get into this, let me ask you to please be in prayer for the family of Arnice Smith. The family is really going through it right now. Both her sister and her nephew are in the hospital in critical care right now, and she solicits the prayers of all of the saints. And also, we want to be in prayer for Sister Dawn Whiteside in the passing of her beloved mother. And Dawn, want to encourage you, prayers for Brenda McGee and the passing of her brother, Oliver McGee. May the Lord comfort you with a comfort that is so wonderful that you'll be able to comfort others. We're going to continue today as we dive into our midweek study very briefly in the series of Please See Beyond My Mask and Hear What I'm Not Saying. It's a powerful little book written by D.F. Moore. And again, thank you, Miss Moore, for such a powerful, powerful piece. In it, she highlights a poem by Charles C. Finn, and I want to focus on another aspect of this poem, and it goes like this: but I don't want to tell you this. I don't dare to. I'm afraid to. I'm afraid your glance will not be followed by acceptance, will not be followed by love. I'm afraid that you'll think less of me, and you'll laugh, and your laugh would kill me. I'm afraid that deep down I'm nothing, and that you will see this and reject me. So I play my game, my desperate pretending game, with a facade of assurance without and a trembling child within. So begins the glittering but empty parade of masks, and my life becomes a front. Let me just highlight for you again the part that's jumping out at me right now. It says, I'm afraid you'll think less of me, and you'll laugh, and your laugh would kill me. I'm afraid that deep down I'm nothing, and that you will see this and reject me. So I play my game, my desperate pretending game, with a facade of assurance without and a trembling child within. So begins the glittering but empty parade of masks, and my life becomes a front. The person that I think of in reading this is King Saul. For many years, the nation of Israel was a theocracy, that is, a government that is divinely led. But after God delivered them out of Egypt and allowed them to settle in the land of Canaan, and they began to prosper, they started looking around at the other nations that were a monarchy. In other words, they were governed by a king, and they wanted to be like other nations. I heard it said from someone when I was a child, be careful of what you ask for. God just might give it to you. They wanted a king, and so God granted them their wish. He gave them a king. And this guy, his name was Saul. He would fit the persona, the image that they had of a king to guide them. 1 Samuel 9 says this in the first and second verse of Saul. It says, Saul, a most handsome young man. This is from the Message Bible. There was none finer. He literally stood head and shoulders above the crowd. So from that we gather he was handsome. He was head and shoulders above all the rest. He was a Hollywood Hulk. And those of the marketing team for Hollywood and government at that time were saying, he's a sure hit. He's a sure bet. Again, he fit the persona of what they wanted to portray to other nations. But the question is, was he ready for that role? Was he prepared to lead God's holy nation? Israel was looking at the exterior, but God was looking at something else. God looks at the heart. And so, what was his heart like? Would he honor God? Was he a man of humility at all? How did he handle critical situations, and how would he handle people who didn't agree with him, who didn't want him? And would he get hung up on minute issues? Well, let's go to the first question around his heart. Was he a man that honored God? Was he a man of integrity? Was he obedient to the instructions that God had given around intermingling and intermarrying with the other nations? The answer is no. He had several wives from the other nations, which led him into idol worship. What about his humility? Well, he started off humble. In that 9th chapter, verse 21, he says, I'm only a Benjamite from the smallest of Israel's tribe, and from the most insignificant clan in the tribe. So he's speaking this to Samuel. At that time, before he's crowned king, he didn't think much of himself. But as soon as he was crowned king, if you will, he became intoxicated with the royal crown. And in this intoxication, he became totally consumed with himself, to the point where he no longer respected and or obeyed the instructions from Samuel the prophet. He began to go his own way and messed up greatly. There's one occasion where they were fighting against the Philistines, and he was ordered to wait 7 days. And rather than following those instructions, he took matters into his own hands. And Samuel asked him, what have you done? And he said, well, I waited and I waited for you to come, and you didn't show up, so I had to do what I had to do, basically. On another occasion, God told him to destroy the Amalekites, and they were to leave absolutely nothing. Well, he didn't follow those instructions. He destroyed everything but the king, and then he began to take those things, he and his men, that he felt were important to him. So everything became about himself. Again, as he was intoxicated on himself. And if you will, if I can go with that train of thought, he would be a mad drunk. He became hung up with what people were doing and saying, and even wanting to control how they thought of him. You see, once he was crowned king, there was a group of folks, and when you read the story, that God touched, who received him, but there was another group of people that didn't like him. And so he became really fixated on those people and what they thought and what they were not doing. You remember on another occasion when the Israelites had defeated Goliath, they were marching down the street. Oh, this is so funny. They were singing a song. They were pledging allegiance. No, they were singing the Star-Spangled Banner to David and not Saul. And he became absolutely enraged. And we began to see his character and how he would operate in his leadership and government. If you crossed him, then he would reassign you to the front lines on the battlefield. And that's what he did with David. At that point, as they were singing David's praise, the scripture says that he kept his eye on David. He became fixated with David. So in terms of honor, humility, being hung up on the wrong things, his heart was just not right. And we could see this from the beginning, where God said to Samuel, as he was selecting a king to replace Saul, God said, you know, I don't look at the external. I'm looking at the heart. So what's the message that we get from this? I'll tell you what I'm not going to do today. I'm not going to give you the answer. Today, that would be like me having a nice, shiny, beautiful piece of fruit, offering it to you, but then I take a bite out of it, all over it, and then give it to you. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let you chew on this. You see what you get out of it. And you say, well, give me something to start with. Okay, I'll give you this to start with. When God looks at you, is he looking at the external? Is he looking at your mask? Or is he looking at your heart? And when he looks at your heart, what does he see? And I'm tempted to go further, but you're not going to bring me into that. What does God see? Think about it. Share it with your friends. Shalom.